This video is about how to create a checklist within Moodle. So you're going to turn editing on. Once you have editing on, then you're going to click on Add an Activity. I have to go down to the end of my topic block. Then from there, I'm going to choose a checklist. And say Add. The title of my checklist, I'm going to call this Unit 1, Lesson 1 checklist. In the introduction section, that is required, so I'm just going to say something to the fact that students must complete all activities in Lesson 1 prior to moving on to Lesson 2. Scroll down, I have some options here. I'm going to display this description in the course page. The updates are going to be made only by the student. They could be made by the teacher or the student, or just by the teacher or the student. I could choose where there's an email that's given to the teacher when this checklist is complete. I'm going to leave that at no. I'm not going to restrict any access, so I'm just going to say save and return to course. Since this unit is rather long, it will appear down at the bottom of the unit as the last thing added. So I go down to the bottom. I'm going to have to move this to where I want it, obviously at the end of Lesson 1. But here I am with Unit 1, Lesson 1 checklist. I'm going to edit this checklist. Sorry, I'm going to do save and display. Then when I do save and display, it's going to give me some options here. I want to edit the checklist, so I have a number of activities. So I'm going to call the first one Activity 1.1, Learning to use a map is a snap. And I'll say Add. The next activity I'm going to say is the totals quiz. The next activity, oops, and actually I forgot to label that correctly, so I'll go back in and I'll just edit that. I want to call that activity 1.2, and I'll say update because I made a change to that. Next I'm going to say activity 1.3, a map is never just a map, and I'll say Add. Activity 1.4, become a colonial cartographer. And lastly, my last activity will be activity 1.5, Colonial Forum. And then I say Add. Once I have my activities added, everything is in here, I don't have to do a save and return to course. I can just arrow back. Sorry, I can follow my breadcrumb trails, and I can get back to Unit 2. Apparently it doesn't want me to do that. For whatever reason, it didn't want me to go back to Unit 2, so I got back to the beginning of the course, unfortunately. At this point, I go back down to where I was in Unit 2 to that checklist, which it's all the way at the bottom. I will have to move it back up to the top by Lesson 1. But my checklist is there. So when I click on that, it is complete. So a student will see all the activities in the checklist. So as they check one of the items, they'll get a progress bar of what percentage of that lesson is complete. That's it. That's a little bit about using a checklist in Moodle.